Leanne Shelton is the author of AI Human Fusion and works with organizations integrating AI in a disciplined, human first way. She focuses on maintaining thinking quality, standards, and trust as AI becomes embedded across teams, helping leaders move beyond experimentation into structured capability. Leanne, welcome to the Evolution Partners podcast.
Thanks, Brad. Good to be here.
Thank you. So perhaps we could start with you introducing yourself and just telling us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, so I am now an AI trainer and keynote speaker, but I haven't always been in the AI space or in the tech space. In fact, 3 years ago, I was running a copywriting and content marketing business. I'd been running it for 9 years, and ultimately, I just noticed that conversions had started to drop. And I started having more and more clients saying, oh, don't worry, I'll just ask ChatGPT, because that had only come out a few months before. And I basically saw the writing on the wall and I thought, okay, what am I going to do here? AI isn't going away. And I have, up until now, been paid to write. And ChatGPT is a writing tool that's free and shiny and exciting and new. And so what I realized was, well, people are using this tool, but they don't understand good quality writing. And I thought, I understand what that looks like. So how about I teach myself prompt engineering, how to use this tool, and then I can start teaching people how to create quality content with it. You know, if you can't beat them, join them, that kind of thing. And that's how my journey started, just thinking this will be a little side thing I do as part of my business, and I will just show people how to create quality content with what I know as an expert in this area. And it kind of evolved though from there. Around middle of 2024, I did establish Human Edge AI training, and I realized it was so much bigger than just writing quality content.
Yeah.
I was having lots of conversations with people, with leaders, just friends, just all about ChatGPT and AI, and everyone was just freaking out still about being replaced. And this fear-mongering was still coming from the media. Yet I was seeing from overseas this whole concept of AI first.
Yeah.
And it being this great badge of honor. We have an AI first business, or here's how you can have an AI first business, which would be, implementing AI into all systems and processes and automating everything and having all this free time and being so innovative.
Mm.
And I thought that's not the message that we want to be pushing right now. Everyone's still freaking out. So I started pushing the human first approach to AI. And that seemed to really resonate with people. And I realized, I'm, neurodiverse, I'm ADHD. I was getting overwhelmed myself by all these new updates and tools. And I thought, so why are all these AI enthusiasts and experts shoving more of this stuff in people's faces when even a lot of us are ourselves overwhelmed? And I thought, okay, I'm going to be the voice of the people, keep it human first, not talk about all these tools and updates constantly, bring it back down to that human first level and just say, okay, just because you can use AI doesn't mean you should. Are you getting lazy with it? Are you getting over-reliant on it? What's that impact on yourself and your team in the future? Why is no one talking about the mindset and strategy? Everyone's jumping to the outcomes, go be productive. And that's where my book kind of came about, this whole concept of a human first approach, just being mindful with your usage, not just getting caught up in the hype, which is just so easy to do, and just taking a moment to pause and think about where AI fits into your world, whether it's personally or in the business world, and that impact on your team members and your clients if you're using it well or not using it well. And I'm 3 years into this now. I absolutely love doing this. I'm a keynote speaker semi-regularly and do workshops for teams. And I speak in a non-techie way because my background is not in IT. And so I can very easily speak in a way that doesn't have that jargon and people just understand it. And I go, don't worry about all that. How is it relevant to you? Let's talk about that. And that's really, really resonating with everyone.
And so that feels like that's where the title of the book, AI Human Fusion, came from. It's really about how do we do it in a human manner? How do we interact and build this this relationship, for want of a better term, in a human manner, if that's right.
Yeah. And that's the thing, because people have been caught up in what the tools could do for them. And like I said, that whole productivity thing, and it's very easy to be caught up in this little trap of, oh my gosh, I'm saving so much time. Look how quickly it did that thing I've been procrastinating on. It did it in 5 minutes or less. But the problem is that quality. And if you are asking it things in an area that you don't have that experience or expertise in, you don't know how to question it. You don't know how to push back on it. And as someone in marketing, I know how to use it really well for marketing strategy and content. And I know how to assess the output and give it feedback and change it. But if you don't know what you're doing, unfortunately, you often take it at face value, thinking AI is this all-knowing being and maybe it knows more than you, which makes people question themselves. And that's just not going to be beneficial for the future. And I think that's the thing. A lot of people aren't thinking about long-term of this impact of over-reliance on AI, forgetting how to summarize things, forgetting how to brainstorm, forgetting how to just write a basic email because they're just jumping onto these tools. And so I'm really trying to bring forward that, keep it human, keep it human. Like, you know what you know. Sometimes it's best not to use AI at all, or
Yeah.
only use it to fine tune what you know as a human expert in this area.
What's the biggest mistake that you see mid-market leaders or small to business owners make with AI, and what does it typically look like inside a company?
Yeah. So what I'm seeing, there's that inconsistency among teams. I think, look, in Australia, we're a little bit slow with the uptake of AI. And I've seen the last probably 6 months, we're finally getting sign off from the IT departments to use Copilot or whatever it is, right? And then there's just, it's like the blind leading the blind. The leaders just don't know what they're doing with AI. They're saying, oh, yep, just go use it. And so you have this mixture of people like the improvisers who are just jumping on AI tools and playing around with it. They feel confident, but there's no real strategy. And then you've got like the dabblers who are going, all right, I kind of get it to help me fix my emails up and I kind of know what I'm doing, but not really. And then you have the warriors, which is WORRIERS, and they're the ones freaking out and not touching it. And so because of this, you are getting a very mixed approach to AI within the organization, which is potentially damaging your brand if people are sending out AI generated content externally without a second thought. Because we're all developing the sixth sense of AI generated content. I don't know about you, Brad, but when I see that, I'm instantly losing trust in that person or that brand if I can detect that's been written by AI, because I don't know where the human starts, the robot begins and or ends, and vice versa, because it just sounds so generic. And so this is what I do in my teaching, my training. I teach people how to customize these tools, train it on the business, the brand voice, and the customer, so that really, if it is going externally, it should be undetectable as AI. It should just be very consistent with everything you're doing. But there's just not enough strategy within organizations to achieve this a lot of the time. There's also those jumping onto all the chatbots and agents and not knowing what they're doing, just trusting whoever's developing it. And they're completely missing the mark with the customers as well. And so, like, I had this conversation with someone the other day, literally got into this chatbot loop, couldn't speak to a human, was extremely frustrated with trying to get their internet or whatever fixed. And there was no phone numbers. There was no email addresses to contact a human anywhere. That was what the company had relied upon, this chatbot. But all it does is frustrate the client, and that does not serve you in the long term. So that's something I'm really pushing. I've said this in my book as well. Just make sure that there is an easy way to speak to a human. Train these tools that if anything does confuse it, it goes, oh, connecting to you to a human right now. There's always transcripts to go to a human. There's always a human follow-up. This is just not happening enough because that whole shiny factor. And that's really what I'm pushing. Just stop and think, how is this going to really feed into your business? And will this actually serve you?
I think that the word trust is at the essence there, because in my experience using chatbots, I would have to say I've got a 90% failure rate. As soon as I see one, it's like the only thing you're doing, chatbot, is slowing down this website experience before, and you are definitely not going to solve my problem. So in terms of interfacing with a website, anecdotally, personally, I think I think I've got very low trust of any of the chatbots, but there is really something where you receive an email, let's just suggest, to your point, you look at it and you think, well, this was written by AI, and it does, I think you're right, I think it does affect the trust of the person more than the brand. So whether it's you operating as an individual or you operating on behalf of the company, it's still the same thing. And brand damage can be measured, but you don't know that it's happening in these two instances through, the IT department's probably really proud that they've got a chat bot up there and they think, yeah, it's great. And then they move to justify the cost and the expense by way of productivity gains. But there are other things that are happening in the background to trust.
And that's the thing. You might not find out for another 6 months when you reassess your numbers. Why has there been this decline? What's been going on? And there have been some big companies like Klarna, for example, or Combank, who brought in these chatbots and phone agents thinking they were very clever. They fired people and then sheepishly started hiring people back, realizing, oh, we made a mistake. That's not serving the people. And this is really something we just have to be mindful of. Like, fine, implement them. Just make sure you're testing, you just trial it potentially without rolling out completely and relying on this process. And also make sure your team members are across it as well and they can keep an eye on these tools and just see how well they're functioning and step in quickly too.
How have you got any examples of where you've seen organizations chasing productivity, but what's actually happened is it's lowered thinking or quality or brand standards?
Yeah, I'm seeing it constantly, to be honest. I mean, it's, yeah, it gets just very frustrating, especially when they're big brands and you think you should know better. I think a well-known clothing line did some advertising recently, and it was a video that was obviously AI generated, and it was so poorly done. Like, it was literally two women, like almost identical women, wearing their clothes and what they were doing when they were pointing, and then you hear the music, which is obviously used by AI because the lyrics come up with like chilled music, giving indie vibes. Like, it literally said what the prompt would have been. And it was just so bad for them. And this is a big brand in Australia. And so this is the thing, the people who are rolling this out, they're thinking, how amazing is this? We can do this, save time. We don't have to pay money to videographers, photographers, to makeup artists. But yeah, it's going to be garbage in, garbage out. It's just so not going to serve you. And because in this world now we live in, we have so many choices that we can just very easily go, oh, I'm going to boycott that brand because they don't care enough to put effort in and money into an advertisement for us to view. Why should I put the money in to buy your product? And this is the world we're kind of come into.
Yeah.
We just have to be mindful of that.
Imagine a company's implemented AI and it's 6 months down the track. What are you looking for? What are the signals to tell you that they've either raised their standards, they've lifted the output, the quality, or what things might concern you after 6 months?
Yeah, so what I'm trying to encourage in my team training and things is to implement like regular discussions about AI. So obviously start with some sort of discussion and then do training, get everyone on the same page. And then after that training, initial adoption of everything, I want to see these conversations continuing. I want to see everyone no one jumping ahead with different tools. I want to see everyone using the same tools in the company. And it's kind of funny because, you probably go, all right, we're all using Canva, we're all using Outlook, Gmail, whatever. But when it comes to AI, for most organizations, there isn't that consistency of usage of tools because it just blindly in the blind. Oh, I heard about this shiny tool, I'm going to go use it. Get sign off on one tool, cool, but they're still discreetly. Oh, I heard it was like shadow AI, I think the term is, where they're kind of using it discreetly.
Yeah.
So what I want to see is everyone using the same AI tools. Everyone knows how to prompt it correctly. Everyone's using the same prompts for consistency, especially if it's for customer service or marketing and it's all for external. I also want to see that brand voice has been trained up. It's sounding like the brand, but also people have trained up their tool on their own voice too. Because the thing is, if you have clients you've had for say 10 years and you start getting AI generated content that sounds like the brand, but not you, there's going to be that disconnect as well. So making sure that you choose, all right, this is a brand comms, brand voice. This is my personal brand voice in this kind of instance. And that experimentation, but being, I guess, more thoughtful experimentation, but also not using AI for absolutely everything. And also not hiring juniors thinking AI is going to solve all the problems as well, because that's not thinking big picture. Big picture, you're going to be moving people through the ranks who's going to be there to move up the ranks if you're just using AI at the very beginning? So this just big picture thinking, and I was talking to someone the other day who's really focused on HR and AI, and she's just, from what she's noticed, there's not enough this big picture of long term. If you implement AI here in these places now, what's the impact in 5 years' time on your organization? And that's just not happening enough. So really, it just needs to be an ongoing conversation and just having a stronger strategy behind it, not just going, let's just use it for this and use it for that. And some are using it for brainstorming, some are not. That real consistency is really key.
Can you just elaborate on that 5-year comment you made? As in, where will the organisation be in 5 years? What is, they're not considering it. Okay, that's fine. What should they consider? What's on your mind when you say that?
Yeah, well, this is what came up in the conversation with, her name's Jo. And what she said is that the thing is, AI is often focused on the mundane tasks, like the automation, the little things. And what's interesting to note is then what's left? All the big brain thinking stuff. Or if your staff isn't already burnt out, which is often the case anyway these days, unfortunately, they're going to be even more burnt out if all they're doing, or AI's handling all that. I'm then constantly, after that post-lunch slump, you're still, oh, well, I still have to stay here till 5, basically. I'm going to have to do some big picture thinking now when I'm really not with it, but I have to push through because I have to still prove my worth and everything. And so this kind of thing hasn't been considered, as well as, like I was saying, in terms of roles. So people keep moving up the ranks. And if you've got no juniors because you just got AI, then who's going to replace those roles? And then you have to go find other people. It obviously would benefit you more if you're bringing people up who've known the company, and otherwise you're completely training from scratch. So that whole onboarding process and training up brand new people, that's going to take time and money that you could have otherwise saved if you'd had them in the company 2 years ago. So just there's a whole bunch of these little things, or the impact on customers. How's that brand going for you? Is it really strong? Are you really standing out from the crowd? Or have you damaged your brand quite a bit from misuse of AI here, and it's taken you 5 years to get back to where you wanted to be? So there's a lot of little factors here, and that's why I'm saying, literally my first chapter is called Let's Press Pause. Just pause for a second, work out where AI should fit in with your company. And I do recommend things like having AI-free Fridays, for example, or AI-free projects, and make it clear to everyone why you decided not to use AI on this day or for this project, and remind people it's to keep their critical thinking skills alive.
Yeah.
Because I think if we can keep falling into the trap of just going to AI every time that we find something too hard, or it's just such a mundane task to just give it to AI, we're going to find that we're going to struggle as humans going forward with basic thinking skills. And that's a problem.
It's a muscle. Or it's like a muscle, I should say, the brain. And then we're not going to be able to synthesize the output and know when it's good or bad. So in your book, you talk about the habits framework. It's I guess, a key concept within the book. Can you explain what it is and why it matters for leaders?
Yeah, well, the acronym came up it just kind of came together as I was writing the book, because I knew there had to be a way to tie all the different aspects together. And I thought habits is perfect because we want to be developing healthy habits with AI right now, or our future selves, future lives depend on it. Oh, that sounds doom and gloom. But basically the stands for humans. And that is, like I was talking about, that human first approach. Pausing, thinking about, all right, if I use AI for this and I save time, how does that benefit me? Am I going to have an actual lunch break? Am I going to be able to go home to my family earlier, have more quality time with them because I don't have to do extra work after hours? Does that mean I have more time to mentor my team members or actually have meetings with clients face to face? This is the human first approach that we should be taking, freeing up our time to do more human centric stuff, and also focusing on our team members. So making sure that they are not burnt out. Are they over-relying on AI? If yes, why? Do they need some upskilling? Do they need some time off? Really focusing on that, as well as the clients and what their needs are, and are we meeting them when we do use AI? Then the A in habits is for AI, and that section is all about training and customizing the tools to really complement what we do in our experience and expertise. And I go chapter by chapter on how to train it on the business. So that's like the mission, vision, values, the story of the business, the whole background that really just, you may not be able to find that online, maybe you can, but you may have other documents that you can upload and train it. Nothing too sensitive, no P&Ls, just things that are publicly accessible or you'd happily hand over, as well as the brand voice. So this is what stops that generic sounding content and that we're just still seeing, unfortunately, flooding LinkedIn and emails. And this is training it on samples of writing from the past that you feel really emulates your brand, and then fine tuning it and making sure that that then is going to be consistent when everyone's using it across the board. And then there's a customer. And this step with training is often overlooked, but you want it, whether you have a customer persona, their pain points, their demographics. If you have that, great, and a name and an age, plug it in, tell it to remember these personas. Awesome. That will change the depth of and the angle of the output too. And if you don't have that information, you get it to help you create that. And then you can use that going forward. So that chapter really is about really customizing it, because that's what makes the output so much better than if you just treat it like a Google search bar and go, give me this. And it knows no context.
Yeah.
So it's a very big one. In the habits, the BI comes next, and that's the business implementation. And that's thinking about things like the ethics, security, the legal aspects, all this bigger stuff that often gets overlooked or just pushed under the carpet for the sake of productivity. And we really need to be thinking about, IP. If you're creating things with AI, new concepts, are you actually covered? If someone copies you, the AI has no original thought, remember? It comes from somewhere, so you need to be covered. And security aspects too, remembering what you can and shouldn't be putting into it. And then finishes off with the TS, which is tactical strategy. And that is, all right, you've got your head around all this as a leader. How do you get your team along for the ride? And this is a bit of what I was talking about before with like having team discussions and buddy systems, maybe someone who's a bit more confident matched up with someone who's not. Maybe it's, one day is where you all just kind of do let's call it a hackathon, AI hackathon. You all just kind of have a problem. Let's play around with AI and see how we can solve this and improve this workflow. Some processes with your team. How are you going to have an AI policy? How are you going to fit that in? So as you can see, the habits framework covers so many aspects. And from what I'm seeing, most organizations only cover one tiny little part of all of that. And it's just like, yep, just go use it, be productive, without thinking of all these other aspects. Because just like something like WHS, it's not just, it needs to be completely rolled out, everyone across it. There's no gray area. We need to know exactly our direction with this thing.
This episode is brought to you by Evolution Partners, where we help leaders to confidently build enduring great companies using our proven, structured, strategic planning process that ensures you build and execute the right plan to build the business that you want and the life that you want. Check us out at evolutionpartners.com.au. And you can also check out our books, Made to Thrive, which is about the 5 roles of a CEO. Becoming a great CEO rather than just a good CEO in your business. Second is Onboarded, which is about hiring and onboarding great people, making sure that you give yourself the greatest chance for people to succeed in your organization. And then third is Bigger Isn't Better, Better is Better, which is about building a business that is better rather than bigger. It's not about building a little business. It's about building a business that compounds, a business that you can actually fall in love with again. In my experience, companies that we work with have tried to set a plan for AI for a year or 3. What are we going to do? But the challenge that they really quickly run into is the landscape changes so quickly. How do you respond to situations like that? Or what happens when clients talk to you about that type of thing? Like, how can we possibly know where we're going to be in a year or 3 year with our internal systems development, implementing AI beyond just the simple things that are relatively easy to implement? How do you respond to that?
Yeah, I think it has to be the wider company strategy first, and then the AI builds into that rather than thinking AI strategy and working from that direction, because we just don't know. I think you can't be making 3-year plans with AI. Really, probably 6 months is the best you can do, to be honest, because of all the changes. I remember at the beginning of last year, 2025, everyone's saying this is the year of the agents, yet I did not hear of any successful implementation of agents, honestly. I was just hearing all these bad stories of, oh, it was signing off this thing that it shouldn't have. It sent an email to this person that made no sense. So it's still very much in its infancy. And so putting a lot of trust in AI really is a danger right now. I would really just kind of be going, all right, we want to improve our customer service. That's the big picture thinking. Okay, how could AI in its current format and capabilities help with that? Okay, so chatbots, even if you go with a good company that can help you develop a really good one, still be like just doing that, like cross-checking, constantly checking in with it every month, maybe every couple of weeks. I would never just be relying on it to just do its thing. Maybe do surveys with your customers, just going, okay, we saw you use the chatbot. How was your experience? What could be improved? It really needs to be a mindful thing along the way. We can't just go, oh, yeah, we're just going to go roll this thing out and yeah, that's all good. We really need to be careful with these things. And phone agents as well, very tricky. I personally don't like the idea of cold calling. Phone agents is calling us. We don't like it when human telemarketers do it. Why are we going to like it if AI does it? It might be cool the first time. We go, oh, I think I'm talking to a chat, like an AI phone agent thing. But then it'll get old very quickly and you'll just be hung up on. And if you ever replace your call center, that's going to really damage you. And you've got no other way forward. So it's just that there's stuff, just do your research and see and speak to people. Don't just speak to the companies that develop these things, because unfortunately you can't always trust them because they're like, oh, this is amazing. All right, can I speak to some of your clients or check out who's leaving reviews and speak to them? We really just need to be really strategic with how we implement AI. We need to make sure, okay, this is our big picture thinking. Can AI help us with this? Yet. Maybe not yet. Okay, let's revisit this in 6 months' time, a year's time, see where the AI tools are at for this, then give it another go, but never always kind of have this lens of mistrust and assuming that AI is going to go wrong. And then it'll keep your brain thinking, all right, if it does this, how are we going to back it up with human support? Or what are the guardrails we'll put in place to make sure this doesn't cause a negative effect?
It's hard because we are somewhat trained to think that if a technology company is providing a service, we need to trust that that will do what it is supposed to do. And then you layer on top of that, a lot of these companies believe that they're in a race to get to this unimagined finish line first. They don't really know what it is, but safety and governance and a lot of things are really treated as second fiddle, but pursuing one thing and one thing only, which is this unimagined finish line, but also valuation. And so what they're doing is they're talking up their valuation and telling you all of these things that, you know, they might have just imagined or might be true. So it's very hard because we're used to trusting software vendors or technology companies that, well, if you made this claim that this product will do this thing, it will do it. So it's a mix between we can't trust that it's going to actually solve the problem that we're trying to solve, and we can't trust that what they're saying to us is going to work. It's really quite a unique environment, I think.
It's really hard because the thing is, all these companies, you know, OpenAI and Anthropic and Microsoft, they haven't made money from AI yet. They've in fact lost a lot of money. And the same with the people who then create these tools, they've invested a lot into creating them. So everyone is kind of this then desperation to sell their product and get people to pay for it to cover their losses. So keeping that back of mind, that's really important. We just need to, that's what I'm saying, we all just need to put our heads together and not just rely on the IT departments within organizations as well. I'm hearing more about this like AI teams being put together, workforces, and that's really helpful because you can have a mixture of people, different ways of thinking, and you might just have that person who they're just the admin lady, you know, but they might just come up and say, hang on, you're saying this is this, but that won't help with this, and make everyone go, you're right. Because this whole shininess is so easy to get caught up in, you know, like just look at social media scrolling. Like I've removed Facebook and Instagram from my phone like over a year ago now because that scrolling, the FOMO, I'm going to miss out.
Yeah.
And so we need to be mindful that that is so much in play right now with all these new updates with AI tools. You know, I have people going, oh, I'm sick of ChatGPT now, I'm moving to Claude. But you've been working with one and training it up, and Claude's better now, but in a month's time when ChatGPT's caught up again, you're going to keep jumping backwards and forwards. And so that's not necessarily going to serve you for consistency purposes and things like that. So it's really just trying to, I guess, just hold off on any like knee-jerk reactions to things. Just talking it over, experimenting carefully, being mindful of that experimentation and just checking. And also thinking the bigger picture, like, is this a Band-Aid solution? Bringing out chatbots and phone agents. Do you actually need to work with your customer service team to improve their skills, the processes and systems there? That needs to be done before you bring in AI. And I think that's what a lot of companies just do, to go, oh, great. Oh, we'll bring in AI because our customer service has been lacking. Hang on. You still need the humans backing it up. And if their system processes are poor there, AI is just going to end up, great, bring in some work, but then where's it go? And how's that being managed? Or how's that being converted? You still need that input.
I think it's a really important point. Don't trust the models. You've got to filter what they put out. Don't trust that they will be able to solve the problem, and I guess start with smaller problems and build up. And certainly don't trust the wild claims that are being made by these corporations or these large AI companies until you can see it's proven, because their job is to talk up their valuation. How does AI change leadership thinking inside a company, and moreover, the quality or the standard? Do you think that it has the ability to weaken that, and or have you seen that? And any thoughts on leadership thinking and how it can be affected by AI?
Yeah, well, it very much has, just like with any tool, really, it has the power to have negative and positive repercussions. But with leadership with AI, if you have the right mindset, which is what I'm pushing, obviously, in my book, if you have the right mindset, you can then lead your people in a positive way with AI. If you're burying your head in the sand or just saying, oh, I've used it like this and it's great for me, so you now go do the same thing, without understanding the bigger picture, then you're going to fall into issues later down the track. So really, as a leader, it's more pressure when you have so much on your plate. You just need to get your head around it a little bit more before you start giving that guidance. And this is, obviously where my training does come in, because I do speak to leaders, and I have a 3-month program, for example, and always speak to the leadership team first, and go, okay, what do you want to achieve with AI? Where are your gaps in your knowledge? Okay, let me fill that. Let me just get you onto that even playing field. Okay, great. Now we can start talking to your teams. And I think that it often isn't that time or capacity to do that.
Yeah.
To just stop, and it's just like, oh, cool, we've had this signed off now. Everyone, use it for this, use it for that. Oh, I think you're using it too much here. Well, they don't know when. You have to have these specific like documents and things, and say, okay, here's the process of using AI, and here's where the human should come in to critique it, and here's who should sign off on it. Just having those clear things, rather than people going, cool, I've done this in 5 minutes, I'm hitting publish or send, and then the junior of the company potentially causing major damage because AI has completely misunderstood the issue, and all that kind of thing. So I know it's hard, but you really just need to think bigger picture. And like I was saying, bring AI in where it can help, but not think about AI first and working from there.
Yeah, it's a time of change. It's pretty challenging to I don't know if there is a thing like get it right, but to not get it wrong, let's say.
Agreed.
To what you said there, what's the difference between treating an AI as a project versus embedding it into your capability? Because what I was sort of thinking about or relating to what you were saying is that if you treat it as a project, it can be put in to whatever degree, implemented, and then it just kind of gets left. What do you see as the distinction between it being treated or dealt with as a project and fully embedding?
Yeah, so I think rather than treating it like a project, what I actually say is treat it like a junior assistant. And this really does change the thinking of how people interact with AI, because at the moment, like I mentioned, so many people just use the message bar in ChatGPT or similar, the same as Google, like, give me this, give me that, do this for me, do that, right? But what you need to do is, if you think of this AI tool as a junior assistant it knows how to use the internet, but it wants to please you as its boss, but knows nothing about the company. What would you do? If you straight away say, hey, create this business plan, marketing strategy, and content, it's going to be rubbish and you're going to end up annoyed with it or them, And so that's what you need to do. You need to go through an onboarding process, the same as you would with a human with the AI tool. And that's where I was saying that the business, brand voice, and customer. So if you say, okay, I'd like to introduce you to everything, I've trained you up on those 3 things, boom, 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 you follow the process, then you continue treating it when you prompt like that assistant. As you recall, we're about this, talking to this customer about that. What are your thoughts on creating this, or here are my initial ideas, blah, 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 blah. It should be actually treated like a collaboration opportunity. And I do joke that if your brain doesn't hurt a little bit after using AI, you've handed over a bit too much to the tool. Because and this is how I use it. Like I use it, for example, for creating articles on LinkedIn or strategizing for new programs and things. And I go, here are my initial thoughts based on what you know about what I've done in the past or based on some research on this area. Can you now give me some ideas of how to proceed from here? And then I see what ideas it gives me with what I know about what would work and what would resonate. I then go, oh, I like that one, but not that one. Actually, this one's good. Can you give me 5 more examples like that?
Yeah.
And then it gives them. And then you go, oh, okay. And then you assess that. And then you keep going and you go, all right, thank you. Can you draft the first paragraph on that? Review it, critique it. No, I think that's the wrong angle. So what I'm saying is it really needs to be something that you work with it. It's never just handing over everything, like all your thoughts and whatever, and just go, oh, I have to write an article on blah. Write this for me. Boom. That's what most people are doing. But that's going to end up being very shallow level, no depth, not enough about you and your opinions. You need to be involved in the process. So if you kind of shift your thinking like that, then any project you do going forward is going to be a lot more aligned. You're going to find yourself shouting at your computer screen a lot less.
Yeah.
Because it will get you a little bit more. And this really is beneficial. So anything you do going forward, it's been trained. Now, I have said this, but the model's been updated on ChatGPT and it has seemed to have forgotten some things. So when it does that, you have to be mindful because it's very easy to just not see that. Hang on, you've lost a bit of my brand voice here, or I think you've forgotten what I talked about previously here. Can you bring that back? It'll say, oh, apologies. And then it'll revise its response to you. So that's what I mean. Like, it's just like those signs on the road, like don't trust your tired self. If you're feeling a bit tired when using AI, you're just not going to get the most from it.
When you're talking about the way that you're training it, you're talking about an engine within the AI or a project or both, or could you just give a little bit of context on that?
Yeah. So with the training, like you can just literally open up a new chat box and say, I'd like to train you on this stuff. It can take literally half an hour to train it on the business, brand voice, and customer when you have enough samples and things to upload. Just obviously nothing that's too sensitive, obviously. And then that should then be embedded into the system. And in the past, at the very beginning, chats didn't interact with each other and you had to keep repasting this information in. Now the chats do overlap. So if you make it clear, like this is the Leanne brand voice, and then you say, write this in Leanne brand voice, it'll go, oh, okay, I know what you mean by that from what we've done before. Going forward, I'll do that. Or I'm talking to the Mary persona. Awesome. I remember us doing that work together. I'll now really focus on that. So it really is just that initial teaching and then going backwards and forwards and reminding it.
Yeah. Okay, great. Your book came out June 2025, which is just yesterday in one hand, but equally in AI world, it's like we're living in dog years, not that long ago, quite a long time ago. So what's kind of changed? I recognize that yours is somewhat of a timeless book, which is great, but what's kind of changed or surprised you since you wrote and released the book across the landscape, perhaps?
Yeah, well, thankfully it has been, timeless, because, going on 7 months now, everything is still extremely relevant, which I'm very thankful for. And I did put at times, if, at time of writing, this is the case.
Yeah.
But we're still been a bit slower getting like governance and all that to catch up and all of that. So thankfully it is definitely still relevant. And I would love it if we didn't have to do this whole training and have to know to train it. I wish that the tool came up and said, hey, I can see you're new here. Let's begin with this. Are you using it for business or personal? Great. For business, give me this information. But it's not doing that yet. So at the moment, all that training that I go through is still extremely relevant. And the bigger picture thinking of it, I think it's even more relevant because I am hearing stories of over-reliance. Literally heard someone applying for their visa and they're asked, can you summarize this paragraph into a sentence? And they paused and thought, I don't know how to do this. I've been using AI to summarize things for so long now, I've forgotten how to do that. And so I do talk about that laziness and over-reliance, and that's the big issue going forward. I have started joking, which unfortunately is probably a bit of a dark joke because it might come true, about a new job role being created in the near future. And it will be like an AI reversal consultant. And it'd be like similar to a role of carers who work with dementia patients. And they'll be having to work with people who have forgotten these basic skills of brainstorming, writing an email, summarizing, because too many people will just be going, oh, just get AI to do that for me now. And I think I do talk about here being mindful with how you use AI. And I think you just need to set yourselves challenges of like I was saying before, like not using it at times. Like a lot of last year, I used AI to help me with my articles. Purposing content, still it was, very much involved in the process. And I've decided now I'm going to start challenging myself to go back to old school writing them myself, even if they're shorter, just because I'm mindful, because I'm self-reflective, that I'm starting to rely on AI a bit much. So the book definitely talks about that, and that's definitely still relevant.
Awesome. What is a book that you would recommend for our audience that isn't yours or my books?
Yeah. Look, I had a couple. The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins was very inspiring. It's especially good if you are getting freaked out or felt overwhelmed by people in your world constantly, like, guilt tripping you or putting pressure on you, and is a bit about letting go and letting them just, no, I'm doing my best. I'm just going to let all that go. And Robin Sharma, I've listened on a couple of audiobooks of his, like The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari and The Everyday Hero Manifesto. Just those mindset books, they're just always really handy. I keep going back to those things because it's very easy to get caught up in everyday life. And I'm trying to reconnect to my intuition and things like that and gut instincts when, otherwise caught up in your head a lot with the fast-paced world. So I think those kind of books really just bring it back to what matters in life.
How can people learn more about you and your business?
Yeah, so you can come check me out on LinkedIn. Just search for Leanne Shelton. You should be able to find me quite easily there. My business is Human Edge AI Training, so you can come to my website, humanedgeai.com. And yeah, just search for my name, Leanne Shelton. You'll find a whole series of podcasts. My book, AI Human Fusion, can also be found on Amazon and other bookstores too. So you'll find me quite easily.
What haven't we covered off today that you wanted to cover off?
Look, I think we've covered off a lot. I think what I like just finish up with, when it comes to AI, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just remember that when things feel like, oh, AI is the savior, pause and think, is it actually? Am I just tired? Is there another way around this? Is there a bigger strategy involved? And then go from there.
Very good. Leanne, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today. I love your practical approach. I love the way that you're able to translate, seemingly difficult to things that people can actually practically get through your book. So thank you again for your time today.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. It's been great.
And we're done. Well, I hope you enjoyed the episode as much as I did. If you'd be kind enough to leave a review for the podcast, that'd be really helpful to other like-minded entrepreneurs, and then we can grow our community. If you want to find out more about our guests, head over to evolutionpartners.com.au/podcast, where you can find show notes and other additional reading. Hope to see you back next week. Until then, keep thriving.